Hey there, Ainer Middle School. This is for social studies. Sorry I couldn't be there with you all today. Something unexpected came up last minute. So I definitely wanted to give you all some tools to go along with some of the things that I gathered for you all for the agenda for today. So just to kind of get started, last time I met with you all, our biggest focus was kind of that creation in the classroom and how do we bring in creation and collaboration so that students are kind of showing off their learning with what it is that you are teaching them. So I've heard some great things from your coaches with some creation items that you all have been using in your classroom, some iMovie trailers and iMovie projects that students were using. I saw a couple of those last week that I thought were awesome, so thank you so much for doing that. Today is going to be more about the collaboration piece, so the peer-to-peer interaction. What tools can we use to kind of get students collaborating and talking and discussing? So specifically, the tool that we're going to focus on today is VERSO. And one of the things I was going to open up with was just to kind of figure out who in your building has used VERSO and who has not. I know Jennifer Wilson has done some work with VERSO. So for this point, I'm just going to kind of give you a basic overview of what this tool is and kind of open it up from there. So just keep in mind that there was one or two VERSO trainings that came to the district office, and I believe it was back in February staff development. So if you weren't able to be a part of that, just know that Verso is one of those companies that does a really, really good job with on-site training. So if after today and after you kind of play along with it today, if you still feel that you need additional training in Verso, please reach out to me and we can definitely make that happen. So to start off, we want to be at our Ainer Middle Weebly site. So the web address is ainermiddleschool.weebly.com. Most of you have this favorited in your Chrome browser, or you can also get to the link via Google Classroom. So right now I am in Chrome and I am already at our Ainer Middle School site. And if you scroll down, you will see the agenda for today. So this first part is for ELA. So if you just kind of scroll down to where it says Social Studies, Teaching Through Collaboration, this will be kind of the agenda we work from today. So the very first thing I'm going to do is actually just show this short video of getting started with Verso. All right, so that was the quick little tutorial of what Verso does, just in case you are brand new to this. The next thing that I wanted to kind of show you all is the second link onto the agenda will actually get you right to Verso. And so I wanted to take a moment here just to make sure that each of you are signed into Verso and that you all have your account set up. Okay, and you're going to do that just by clicking here where it says sign in using Verso, and that will take you right to where you need to sign in for the first time, or if you already have an account, this is where you will sign in. If this is your first time, there is going to be an option where it says to sign in with Google, and you're going to want to go ahead and do that. And I would definitely choose your Horry County Schools Google account. That way you don't have to remember what that password is. And students will actually do the same exact process. They'll go to it for the first time and they will log in with their Google information, and then it will save it for them from that point forward. So go ahead and take a minute and make sure that you are signed in to your account. The actual web address is that https app.versoapp.com. Okay, and once you're in there, this is kind of like your dashboard view. So if y'all needed a few more minutes to get into your account, go ahead and press pause, just get there. Once everyone's in, this is where we're going to go from here. So I wanted to kind of just give you a brief overview of what the dashboard looks like and some of your options here while you're in Verso. And then I've also created a demonstration class, which I'm going to show you here in a moment. So right now, this is kind of what it will look like as your teacher page. So right now, my dashboard over here to the left is showing green. That's showing where I'm at. And notice this was a class that was just made for playing, and same with this is actually a class that you have when you first log into your account that Verso created that allows you to go in and kind of see some of the cool things from a student perspective. So your first thing that I'm going to show you, because this is probably the best way to get familiar with Verso and how to use it. So from your dashboard page, if you scroll down, notice you have three options here at the bottom. So we've already done this watch our short getting started video. Your other two options here are enter demonstration mode to view an activity with student responses and interactions. And then you also have this option to enter in student mode as a student. And so the difference between these two is when you first get started with Verso, you're not going to have any students in there, you're not going to have any data in there, you're not going to have any questions and student responses to really play with. And so it's hard to get a feel for the program when you don't have any data to play with. And so what Verso has done is it's kind of created you like a fake class so that you can get used to seeing what it is that you'll be doing with your students. Once you have data and once you have questions already in a Verso class, then at any time you, the teacher, could enter in as a student just to make sure that it looks the way that you anticipated it to look. A lot of times these programs or these tools that we use, we're forced to kind of create a fake student account as teachers just to see what it would look like. But Verso took that extra step and allowed us to kind of have that platform right from the get-go. So one of the first things that I wanted to do was just to click here into the demonstration mode just so that you can see what's here. I would highly suggest you go back and play with this a little bit later just because it does a really good job, like I said, kind of giving you that real feel for what it would be like. And so what it's doing is right now you can see right here, it's creating your demo. So each time it's a different demo so that you can see it. And as the teacher, back on me here. All right. Okay, it signed me out real quick. I just had to sign back in. So basically, now that I'm in the teacher view here. So basically what I have clicked on, let me actually go back so you can see what I clicked on here. And so basically from my dashboard, I can see specifically anything that has happened in my class since the last time I've opened my account. So the first thing that it always does is it confirms that your email address is correct, because this is a really quick and easy way to make sure you don't miss any new posts in your class. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit confirm, because if this were my account, this would be my email address that it we're asking for. And then what I have left are anything new that has happened in my class. And the cool thing about VERSO is you have to approve the responses before any other student can see it. And you can also make it so that students have to make their own response before they can ever see anybody else's. So a really cool way to make sure that students kind of own their own responses before seeing anybody else's. So this is what happens. So you open it up and you can see students' responses. So I can see exactly what Sally said, and then you, the teacher, can like it. You can come down here and you can say, great idea, and then this goes right back to the students. So then when you're done, you just choose done, and you can go through each one of them, or you can clear them all out at once. But you can notice that you not only see the students' responses, but you also can see some of the other responses that other students did in the class as well. So I'll choose done, and if you want to clear everything at once, you can hit clear. But then also notice what else you can do. So going into this demo class, I can look at it as kind of a overarching what has happened here. So 73% of this class has completed it. There are 14 comments. 7 students found those comments helpful. It tells me 16 has been responded, but I'm waiting on 6. Okay, so overall, all the responses are down here. You can change how they're viewed here. If you drop down that menu, you can go to recent or rating or student name, however you want to sort that information. And this is that really cool grouping feature that you saw in that quick demo. So notice I can click on this group, and based off their responses, I can group my students. So what an awesome tool to use for small group instruction. So this could be used alongside of a DBQ, maybe for or against a topic. So you could group students on those who are for something versus those who are against. And it's just a really great way to group them and not be the one responsible for always choosing the groups. So notice six responses are now grouped together as kind of that one. So it's a really, really great tool. If and when you are ready to exit the demo mode, you just have to get out of this green screen that you see here. So it says you are in demo mode, exit. So at any time, you can then exit it. Okay. So here I am back at my dashboard. I have exited out of the student mode, and so this is just your main dashboard mode. So the last thing that I want to show you here are what your options over here are. And so if at any time you want to add an activity, you just go here where the big plus board is, and that's where you add the activity, and then you can choose which classes the activity goes to. So if you're doing one activity but want to send it to multiple classes, you could do the creating from this board right here, and it's very simple when you want to add an activity. You just click on it, and then it really just gives you all your options, very similar to Google Classroom. So you can upload something from your computer, you can choose a link. So if you copy a link from a web browser and then put it in there, you can get an existing link, something that you've already put in VERSO before, and then you actually have your options for your OneDrive or your Google Drive as well. Like always, you want to title your activity, give your instructions for your students. VERSO gives you some really nice tips as you go down here. Also, if you need additional instructions, media allowed, so you can tell VERSO what students are allowed to respond with. So do you want them to be able to respond back with an image or audio or video? If you don't, you can leave those off. And then you also choose which kind of comments. So when students are asked to make a comment on a classmate post, are they allowed to include an image, audio, or video? And you can also make it so that only the teacher can add the media to the comments as well. Here is where you're allowed to assign it to multiple classes, and then this is also the way that you can make sure students respond before they see anybody else's response. So maybe you want students to respond 3 times before they ever see anybody else's. You have that option as well. If you did want to use it for a different type of activity where you didn't care for students to have to give their response first, you do have this option for 0 as well, depending on what you're using it for. And you have some other rights here as well. Also, if you go down here, you can schedule the activity if you want to schedule it kind of like the Google Classroom where you know you're going to be out one day or you know you're going to be using it in a small group and you don't want it to just be up there already. You can schedule that. And then you also have your sharing and visibility rights as well. So shared with your school or public. Okay, so that's how you create an activity straight from the dashboard here. I'm going to quickly go on classes, and this is going to be your view of all your classes. So all the classes that you created will live here, and then any shared classes or any joined classes as well. And in a moment, I'm going to have you all join this HCS blended learning course, and you all can play with responding to a question that I have in there for you. Right here, your library. This is going to be any activity or any class, anything that you've done in Verso. This would almost be like a stream that will be full of things eventually. Your stats, this isn't going to show too much for me because I don't have anything in there yet, but when you click on your stats, when you have students in here, you will actually have a great little place for you to kind of have a snapshot over how many things were liked in that activity versus how many comments, that sort of thing. Campus will become more useful once our whole district is using this, but as of right now, you can kind of see some of the teachers in our districts and our middle schools and some of the activities that they've made. So if this is something that looks like you could use in your classroom, there's a way to kind of connect with other teachers in our district through Verso as well, which is pretty cool. So I'm going to go back out of this mode here. So that is a quick overview of Verso and what it can do for your students. And so the goal with using this is to get students to be talking with one another. So having them have that conversation with each other before you all open it up as a group, as a whole group, and kind of discuss. Because think of those students who don't really have enough time to kind of process before the rest of the class blurts out their ideas or their answers. And so I see this being used not only in small group, but maybe as a way for the teacher to kind of form their small group for their teacher-led instruction. So hopefully this has given you all some ideas of how to use this in your classroom. The next steps with using Verso is how can you use this tool more in your classroom? For you, what do you think this tool supports for blended learning in your classroom? Do you see this as being a small group activity? Do you see it being in the creation collaboration part? How often can you see yourself using this tool in your classroom? The goal after speaking with your coaches is for y'all to use it at least once a week from this point forward. So if you could use the rest of today to kind of start planning ideas and brainstorming, how can you use Verso in your class? I've seen some really cool ways of how to use it with DBQs, with the hook and the questioning and the bucketing. I think that's a really neat way. National History Day, it'd be a really good way to kind of generate topics as well. So I have tons of ideas if you can't think of any. So feel free to reach out to me if you need any additional help with utilizing this tool in your classroom. I know Jeannie Daly will be super excited to see you all using this as well. So next steps and the goal here is to plan a lesson using this tool Verso. It's your choice on where you put this tool, whether it's in small group instruction or the teacher creation collaboration station, whatever it is or however it works best for you. But the goal is to plan a lesson using Verso and then email Marie the date that you plan to use this in your class so that she can come in and kind of give you feedback and just kind of check out what you did. Any other questions, feel free to reach out to me, and all of the resources will remain here on the Weebly site as well. Thank you so much for your time. And one more thing, if you did want to join my class, this is the join code, and I have a question in there for you all. So one of the things that I took away from the 10-minute Verso training I was a part of at the beginning of the year was how to word your posts. And so I kind of modeled how I worded it here in this class. And so it just gives the quick instructions here, view the board above, and then this was the thing that they kind of mentioned in their training to, in your instructions, kind of map out what you want students to respond to and what you want students to comment on. So that's just an example of how Verso suggested that you create your posts. So once you all join, if you want to respond with how you could use Verso in your classroom, that would be great. And then once you've actually responded, you'll be able to see each other as well. In order to join my class, you want to make sure that you are in student mode so that you can join and kind of see what the student side would look like. So hopefully this was helpful. And like I said, if you have any further questions, feel free to reach out to me anytime. Thank you and have fun playing with Verso.